Hi.
Hi. Oh, you want to turn the, yep. Hi, friends, and welcome to the first installation of the Infinite Womb Chats. This is a panelist, a conversation with women in service to the womb, bringing womb bearers together to chat about creation and our connections to the womb. So we're super blessed and really happy to be here together today and to share this with those who will be tuning in later. We'll be sharing all the links and details that you might want to connect with each of us in different respective ways. But yeah, we're really excited to begin this conversation, to start this conversation, to have this conversation of this such important part of our physicality, our energetic bodies, and bringing in various wisdom and teachings and anecdotal lived wisdom from these beautiful women here. We have Christina Montano and then Rhiannon. It's a nice fancy last name, Belliveau.
Bellevue.
Belliveau. Wonderful. So I think we could start with introductions. I would love to, maybe we can start with Rhiannon and then have Christina, if you just want to share who you are, how you're connected to the womb through either your work or your life, or what do you do for a living, what lights you up, what brings you joy. Just sharing what's on your heart and what feels like it wants to be said right now.
Sure. Well, first, I just want to thank you both for inviting me today. It's really a lot of fun and an honor to get to be here. So, and I'm excited for this conversation to be flourishing. And I think it's a really big topic. So, um, I live in Connecticut. I'm a wife and I'm a mom of two almost grown young men. And so I think a lot of my relation with the womb really began through motherhood and my discovery of motherhood as truly a sacred path of awakening. And I grew up very connected with my spirituality, with spirit, with the unseen realms, and really found it actually a little bit harder to be here. And in that, hard to create, to bring things forth into manifest reality. I tended to be more of a dreamer, you know? And so motherhood really taught me this path of um, being able to discover the sacred in what otherwise might seem the mundane or the dirty, messy, and chaotic, right? And so that, combined with my work as a medicine woman and ceremony and holding sacred space has been a deep weaving for me. And I'm now really passionate about bringing rite of passage ceremonies, especially around birth. Um, but really, all rites of passage, whether it's coming of age or wedding, or even a funeral, is really a process of stepping into new life, into the it's a rebirthing of ourselves. And, the most profound of that is birth itself. And what I find is that as we walk these powerful times of transformation in our lives, that when we engage with them really intentionally, that there's enormous treasure there, incredible opportunity for growth and new self-awareness, for clarity that allows us to live our lives with, greater joy and vitality, and that it deepens our experience of meaning in life and our connection with the sacred, but in a way that's very grounded, right? Like in our lives, in our communities, as a natural part of our living our lives. So that's, really like my biggest passion. And I'm really excited to share more about that. And, that's where a lot of my weaving with the womb is. I think the other part is as an artist, and I'm a musician. I have a album that I have created and I like to write. And so that, classically, like artistically creative process is a big one, and one that honestly I've struggled a lot with. And so I'm like constantly learning and discovering and kind of hitting walls and then, bursting through. And I think that's part of the creation process too, is like meeting yourself in the mystery. And I think, we'll be talking more about that today. But so that's a little bit about me.
So wonderful. Thank you. Oh, here comes someone. Um, yeah, so I'm Christina Montano. I live in Maine, and I am the mother of four pretty much grown kids, and I'm a healing arts therapist, cacao ceremonialist, and I do a lot of healing work with, hold on, Christina's requesting to record to their computer. I'm not sure. One second. um, that's strange. So, um, where was I? Yeah, so I'm on the coast of Maine. I'm the mother of four grown kids, and my whole life has been about really wanting to be a mother, wanting to give birth, wanting to like hold that sacred space around birth. And so now, as I've grown and had these babies and moved into a different time in my life, I'm really passionate about helping helping women to see that in themselves, helping them to find their power and their strength in the birth process. And the womb is like the center, it's that place where we can begin with. And I know we're going to be talking more about that. Um, yeah, I'm just so passionate about like the way that birth is the center of everything, and that we can conceive in the womb, and we can move through that and come out into the world with a new idea or a new being. And so yeah, I've spent most of my life in the healing arts, even before I was doing it as a career, I guess. And I just really am passionate about that, helping women see through to themselves, like really feel their power, feel their amazing energetics of being a woman and how powerful they are and how they walk this amazing path, whether they know it or not, because they're the givers of life. And that's how I felt in my path as a mother, just really strong and passionate, and so many things to talk about. I love being here with you all. And yeah, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to our panel and our discussion. And welcome Paige, who just came in.
Beautiful. Thank you both so much for sharing and expressing what this is all about for you. There was just so much poetry woven in your words, and your expression and your excitement is both very palpable. So it feels very, very comfortable and beautiful to be in a space with you both. And just to give a little bit of an understanding of who I am, my name's Jennifer Sakarian, and I met Christina through her program called Infinite Mother, which I had the blessing of taking for its first iteration. And I'm someone who is deeply connected to my heart and has always been a creator, but I'm on my path of becoming a mother through various obstacles and journeys. The hero's journey of becoming a mother for me involves different things like IVF and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different than what I imagined, but I'm trusting in the path of source and of God, and that I'm exactly where I need to be at exactly the right time. So it's been a beautiful journey of just knowing like I'm really connected to the heart, but like how can I get my heart to connect to my womb? So that's kind of been my personal evolution throughout the years. And so I'm just really humbled and honored to be here with these women who have birthed babies and birthed ideas, and myself as a creator and an artist as well, seeing what these many iterations of self can be. So I love the heart. I love cacao. I love inspiring people. I love speaking. I love sharing what feels alive. So that's all I feel called to say about myself right now. But today we have three different topics. We're calling them womb topics, naturally. And so we'll start with topic one, which is related to preparing the womb for creation. What does that mean, right? Like this womb is this space, it's this infinite space, it's this physical portal, it's this energetic portal, and it's where we can birth not just babies and creation, but also ideas. So I would love for Christina to get us started on this womb topic number one, and then it can be kind of popcorning around and conversational between the panelists, whatever feels aligned. So yeah, Christina, take us away.
Yeah, I mean, it's so preparing for the womb, for the creation of a baby and or a an idea is something I'm so passionate about because there has to be a safe place for something to grow. So whether it's our physical womb, um, or it's an energetic spiritual womb, or even for people that don't have a womb, they can still kind of tap into that womb energy and that creation. Yeah, so I feel like we need a safe place to begin. So let's just start at the beginning because we all we all grew in this place called the womb in a woman somewhere at some time. And so I just feel like what is that space? What can that space, how can it nourish? And how can we prepare it for what's to come? And some of the ways we can do that are through a practice of like intentional cleansing and a practice of getting ready to get ready for whatever it is. And whether it's using herbs to cleanse or um, energetic clearing through healing work or through physical clearing, like through body work, like having your womb, your whole belly worked on is really, really potent, can be really potent. Um, and yeah, just the elements of ceremony. Like I'm a cacao ceremonialist. I use cacao as my medicine. So what is your medicine? What is the way that you connect to nature and um, can allow for that womb space to clear or in some cases to heal before the next steps. Um, yeah. And honoring the cycles is a way for preparing for the womb. Like if you're in the menstrual cycle, just honoring and understanding and reading about it, understanding the seasons of the womb, like what is your season right now before you're beginning a new project or before you're wanting to conceive? Like, where are you on in the seasons, like on the invisible, not clock, but um, yeah, like where are you? Are you in the winter where you're kind of just cold and snuggly and getting ready or thinking about it? Are you in the springtime where you're bursting with energy and things are coming alive? Are you in the autumn of your womb where you're, and I'm thinking more now about projects that your womb can ignite, that it can hold, that they can hold. So yeah, just with the seasons, thinking of it that way. Um, are you resting? Are you envisioning? Are you blooming? Are you in it? So the womb has, there's just so much that I want to say, and it's really this sacred space for creating. And as women, we're the most powerful, I believe we're the most powerful creators because we have this sacred space to create in and that we can bring life. And so all the steps of preparing are just vital for what's to come. Yeah. It's kind of like cleaning up the kitchen before making this amazing feast because you want everything to be in order and you want to get ready for the thing, whatever it is, whether it's a baby, which is a whole new way of life, or an idea that's been brewing for a long time. And I just love working with both of those things because they're both birthing and yeah, they start in the womb.
I love that, getting ready to get ready. It's kind of like having that awareness point of where are you at currently and being like tangible, realistic, observational, like, oh, this is me now in my timeline, either of A, starting a family, or B, starting a project. And it's like, what's in that space? What needs to be cleared and cleansed, nourished, healed, spoken to? And then it's like, what's the seed that gets planted? And as you were talking, Christina, I was thinking about the womb as a cave, like this dark space that's like infinite and you can pull anything out of it, like, wow, I just pulled a rabbit, or like a baby, or a beautiful piece of music, or a project, a ceremony, an invitation. So I think that's really just so lovely how you talked about it that way. And I would love to hear how Rhiannon responds to that, preparing the womb for creation.
Yeah, it's a really important question, I think, because I do think there's a tendency to think about birth either for the physical birth of a baby or birth of ideas that it's just kind of like a quick process. Movies have given this very bizarre idea about what birth is like, and all forms of birth are or an organic process that is really an evolution over time. And so the preparing and the engaging deeply in that process is essential, is part of the process itself. And so one of the first things that was occurring to me in the space of that question was that one of the es you know not just essential, but one of the fundamental components of the birthing process is the surrender into the mystery. There's always a journey into the dark, a journey into the unknown. When we are birthing, even though we are birthing something, whether that's a baby or a creation, in that process, we ourselves are also being reborn. When we give birth to that child, we are not the same person that we were. We become someone new on every level of our being. And that's a beautiful thing, right? And so there's that can be scary, right? That can be, um, there's a lot of uncertainty and, there can be lack of confidence. There can, anytime, right, that we're entering into that domain of the unknown, and especially when we're doing something that matters to us, which really anytime we're birthing, whether it's an idea or a baby, it's really important. So that tends to amplify fears, right? And so, one of the things that I have seen for myself and in my work with mothers is the importance of cultivating what I call the inner skills of birthing, which are really these skills that give us the capacity to surrender with grace, surrender in a way where we remain connected to ourselves, embodied, feeling, trusting, right? Where we are aware of all of what's moving, and we are able to meet that, right? With grace. And I developed a program that I call Birth Song, utilizing some of the sacred sound work that I do. And so using sound as a modality, as a tool, really, right? A way to, and learning how to engage, because what I saw in my own births was that the single most valuable skill I had for my birthing was what I had learned during my meditation practice of the 10 previous years, right? Like that capacity to be present was was the most useful practical tool I had. And I was like, wait, nobody ever said that. Nobody, and I had wonderful caregivers, right? But like, this is not always something that's spoken about. So in that birth song program, it was a lot about learning how to be present with ourselves, learning how to experience the sensations in our body or what's moving in our mind without judgment, noticing fears and judgments and whatever chatter arises, and being able to metabolize that with the breath, bringing compassion to that experience. And through that, deepening our ability to trust ourselves, right? Because that's really what we need when we're walking in that journey of the dark through the unknown, is just as much capacity as possible to trust ourselves in that process. And through trusting ourselves, we also cultivate our capacity to trust other people as well, right? They go hand in hand. And so I actually deeply believe that these inner skills, that they're skills. They're not just like some people are blessed with it and some people don't have it. Like we can all learn this, and we can all deepen whatever skills we already have. And I think that that type of preparation is super valuable. And I also think that that preparation really serves you in the next stage of birthing, because once you birth, there's tending, there's caregiving, and that is a whole other weave. But it also requires enormous presence, enormous capacity to trust and to metabolize the things that come up and arise in your psyche. So these skills then become the strengths that we carry forward into the parenting of our children or our creations, our ideas.
Wow. That was really, really beautiful and really empowering. I love, Rhiannon, what you said about like trusting ourselves. You know, it's like it's a new territory for like that individual person or soul, but it's also so ancestral. You know, it's like it's the ancient wisdom that we're living and we're embodying in this moment because all of our ancestors before us did this thing. So it's like you were saying in the beginning with your intro, it's like this rite of passage. You know, it's like the body knows how to do it. It just needs the guidance and the care, the support, the love. And it just feels really lovely and really beautiful to remember that like we have to lean into that trust for the self. But then on the other side, it also feels like the trust that we are capable, you know, and that when we tend to those seeds that we plant, you know, that they will grow and they will flourish. And I feel like that was a word that got brought up in the beginning as you were speaking, was like flourishment, you know, like it's a gift. And it's interesting for me because I just witnessed my younger sister have a baby, and it's like that divine presence that you're talking about. Like I was like, wow, she is so present that like when I'm around her, I'm suddenly like melting away the layers of my own like judgments and fears and worrisome thoughts, whatever's happening up here. I'm like, wow, her presence is so divine. She's so exhausted, but she's so, you know, fulfilled with love in a different way than I've ever experienced. So yeah, I wonder if either of you have any follow-up comments, either Christina to Rhiannon or anything that I mentioned.
Yeah, just to say again that it's so true. The tools that we can learn, the tools that we teach about um, moving through the fear of birth, moving through the um, the pain, moving through that time in life in a really grounded, healthy way will continue on. And that's why postpartum is so incredibly important, because we kind of gather ourselves for those 40 days to remember and to get grounded and to transition into this lifetime of mothering, because it's not just you have the birth and that's it. It's the whole first year and then forever that we have these beautiful children. And there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of transitions during that time. And so when a woman has that grounded place, like that capacity to be present in themselves, and it's like secured in there, then everything else can move with a lot more ease. So when there's ups and downs, when the downs get to be too much, it can be with ease, because you have that grounded, centered place. And that's the thing, like the one thing that I really like to like teach in my course and express, because if it's just one thing, if you can have that, it's like a foundation, like you want to build a foundation for your house or your new house. Otherwise, all that beauty is just going to collapse because there's nothing holding it strong, holding that structure. So, yeah.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
What it brings up for me is, I think one of the contexts here, the elephant in the room is that our culture does not cultivate these strengths and capacities within us. I do think that people at other times and in other cultures do, but it's not well recognized. And, it's also, I think, actively undermined, maybe intentionally. I don't want to say it's, conspiracy theory or something, but there is something about the systems in the institutionalized systems in our culture as they, often show up, not always, of course, but as they often show up, that teaches us to give our power away to someone else, to distrust ourselves, and to have to agree with the opinion or action of the other, even to biological, right? So like you're not a you little 7-year-old, no, you're not allowed to get up and use the bathroom. Now we're doing spelling, you have to wait, and we make this disconnect that your internal signals about what is correct and right for you are not important. What is important is some external thing. And then we overlay that with this sort of savior rescue mentality, right? So the doctor will rescue you, the priest will absolve you. There are these like authority figures that will um save you when you meet with challenge or when you meet with something that feels beyond your capacity. And so we're just not trained in the skills that help us ground into our own natural strength and trust, which is not to say that we don't receive support, information, guidance, and help from other people. Of course we do. But we need the capacity to be able to know ourselves. Like what I saw in my programs and working with people is that very often it's a whole learning curve just to learn to first orient to our own experience, our own sensory experience. What is happening for me? There's we've been trained to orient to the external, to the other. And so I think part of the reason I want to bring this up is it's important for us to see this and to be compassionate with ourselves. There's a learning curve. Like we have been trained to kind of do the opposite of trust ourselves, the opposite of be present, the opposite of connect with our bodies and stay here and know what is occurring. We have to develop those skills, and through that we get the treasure that's there for us is the kind of grounding and strength that you're talking about, Christina, right? That then becomes this resource. So at 3 a.m. when the baby's screaming and there's no expert that you can talk to at that moment necessarily, right? Like you need to be able to have the capacity to like ground in and be present, clear your mind, and trust your own intuition. Um, and it changes our whole relationship with that process of tending, of parenting, of nourishing our creations when we have that capacity for grounding. And it also changes us. I mean, this is why I deeply believe that motherhood or parenting of any kind, right, is a powerful path of spiritual awakening. I feel like it has us grow strengths that we might not otherwise really
Mm.
grow because it's something that matters so much and it's so immediate and it's so constant. It doesn't go away. You don't just do it on Sunday morning or on the mountaintop retreat. Like this is 24 hours a day. You're on for the rest of your life. Have fun with that. Like this is nuts and bolts on the ground spiritual awakening, and it's amazing as a result. But when we can enter into it, this is all that preparation for birth conversation, right? When we can begin to get out ahead of it and recognize the need for cultivating these inner skills that allow us to access the strength that is there. Because that's the thing. We do carry a capacity for presence. We do have wisdom inside us. Our body does have information that it can communicate with us. We do know a great deal more than been trained to believe that we do. And as we start to tap into these skills, we can access the wisdom that we carry.
Beautiful. Thank you.
That's a mic drop. If I had one, I would do it for Rhiannon. Wow, I really appreciate your passion. You know, it really comes through as you speak, and it feels like this beautiful lived wisdom that wants to awaken that in others. And I'm just, yeah, really blessed to be on the receiving end of this. And I love too, Rhiannon, how you talked about like the cultivating the inner skills, you know, because it's like we do it for a reason, and there's infinite things we can fill our time with, right? Like the time is a 24-hour day, and it changes, you know, as one steps into motherhood. But it's like in that preparatory stages, if I have a dream of a project or a goal or a baby, what are the actual steps and the inner skills that need to be strengthened, curated, tailored, changed, shift, composted, that'll get me to where I want to be? So I think all this is just such beautiful, really enlightening wisdom. So thank you. Thank you both for that share. Christine, I wonder if you have anything you would like to add, or I see Rhiannon, you unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to pop in one thing just in case as you were speaking, it made me wonder if people might come away with an idea that there's like sort of like a perfect amount or like a needed threshold of capacity to meet. And I think that type of thinking is again a part of our institutionalized thinking, and like it's not very helpful. So like if you're worried, if you find yourself thinking in that way, what I would encourage is just to think about deepening the capacity you have. Everybody has some amount of capacity to be present, to feel, to connect with yourself, right? It might be really small, it might be huge. And how do we deepen that? Is more the question, rather than getting worried that it won't be enough, and that if it's not enough, then whatever, I won't be able to birth well, or I will be a bad mom, or et cetera, all the kinds of fears that come up. So I just wanted to say, not to add this to the fear, like, oh my gosh, now I have another to do on my preparation for birth list. But rather an understanding, this is a capacity that we can deepen in a lot of different ways, right? So, and you might already have ways that you're doing, and recognize the value of that, and you know, support yourself in that. So I just wanted.
Beautiful. Thank you. Gosh, I think she's said it all right now.
Yeah, perhaps we can jump on to the next topic. It's about 12:40 right now, so we might just get through two of them. We'll just see how it goes and how it flows. But the next topic is about, I feel like we've sort of touched base on it, so maybe we can again see how the flow goes, but about creating safety in the body. I know this is something that you both kind of touched on in varying degrees in language, but it's like, how do we create safety in the body before birth, a project, a baby, whatever that next evolution is? Like, what does that safety mean? And maybe it comes back to what Rhiannon was saying about the inner skills, the meditation. But I'm wondering if either of you have some insights that you want to add to what does that mean to you, and how does that show up maybe in the work that you've done with other women, with yourselves, et cetera, in your own process. So maybe we can start with Christina.
Yeah, I mean, the safety in the body it can be seen in so many different ways. Like, where do we really feel, how do we feel safe, so that we can receive? And one big place to start is the nervous system. Like, our nervous system in general in this culture, um, probably from all the middlemen, all the people telling us that we have to do things a certain way, have jarred. I feel like there's a little bit of jarring just socially, for like the way that I've grown up, the way that most of us have grown up. Like we're not in a tribe in the jungle. We're here in the metropolis, and it's fast and it's stimulating, and sometimes it can be overstimulating, especially for really sensitive people, and for most of us we are sensitive. So things like trauma and stress and old wounds and um, uh, yeah, that kind of stuff is held in our tissues, it's held in our bodies. So one great way of creating safety in the body is to work through that in a gentle way and be able to see where the wounds are, where the trauma, whether it's a big trauma or a small trauma, just how we can um, how we can work with that like a in a gentle way, because that will come through with whatever project is brewing and wanting to birth. Like those things will all come up. And again, it's that deep innate place where you're grounded and centered, where you can create safety for yourself. It might look like some breath work. Connection with nature is like so important. Like being out physically in nature, touching the ground, laying on the ground, being in the trees, being in the water. That connects us, and that there's a certain amount of safety in there, like feeling the Mother Earth with us, with you, with me. Um, Sound healing, using our plant allies, no matter what they are, the cacao or the flowers in our garden or the different flower remedies that help to soothe the nervous system, can be great allies. You know, it's really, it's like the allies. It's calling in the allies to create safety in the body, and then create safety in the spirit. And that creates an openness for whatever we're doing to feel safe and want to come in. Like if you're getting ready to conceive, what better place for a baby to come into but then a really safe feeling energetic space, I think, you know. And part of it is listening. It's like maybe not demanding so much that the womb, or that we do all these things for the womb, but listening. Like the womb is kind of a quiet, it's like a quiet space. So we want to listen a little bit more, and listen to what it's asking in the moment to create that safety in the body. Um, yeah, just like honoring creating the safe space in all the little tools that we have, that we're either learning how to do or we have learned to do, and now it's time to use them. That kind of feeling, but in a gentle way, again, like not making it um, a hard fast rule that we have to do this in order to get an outcome. So some of the ways that I'm thinking right now, um, yeah, it's not just the physical safety that we're talking about, but it's the emotional, the energetic, and then the ancestral. Um, what happened to your mom and your grandmom and your great grandmom and all that, the whole lineage of feeling safe within the physical birth, you know, for pregnancy and birth. Um, that's another thing to look at. But again, gentle, with grace, with ease, so that it's not a big hard to do. Like, this is what I have to do in order to get this. It's more thinking of the wind in the trees kind of feeling. Taking a walk in the woods, taking a walk by the water. That energy that can um, help with creating safety all the way around.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, Christina, is so important. It's really the foundation. Um, and I think one of the things I want to say about the process that you're describing, just to like be adding to the conversation of that, is that sometimes as we start to become aware of, traumas, issues, places where we don't feel safe, it can it can feel like we need to go hunting for the problems. And generally, what I've seen is that that just creates more problems, actually. Like it creates its own kind of stress. And so, like Christina is talking about with this gentleness, one of the ways that I have experienced the gentleness of that is to see this as an organic process. And that at the heart of this type of healing to allow for an experience of safety is simply presence. So again, we're coming back to that capacity for presence. And so in the context of that, then organically it's meeting what arises. So if fears start to arise, if you notice tensions in the body, whatever it might be that's naturally coming up right now, having a practice to meet that through presence, dropping our judgments and our shoulds about what our experience should be. I should be over this by now. Whatever the judgments are, we all have them, right? There's a beautiful process that I call the presence process, which is essentially just dropping the story that the mind is weaving about our current experience and simply feeling emotionally, sensing, in the body. And through that, we create safety with ourselves. It's like we can start to feel that we're not going to abandon ourselves, that we're not going to be mean to ourselves. I mean, how can we feel safe for ourselves if we're constantly judging ourselves? I mean, would you feel safe with a partner who is constantly judging you? Not really. Um, and so, but we do that with ourselves all the time. And so in a lot of ways, it can be like a very simple cultivation. Like we don't have to go seek out like the monsters of big past traumas necessarily, but just this like ongoing practice of meeting. So that was one part. And the other thing that I wanted to say that occurred to me in that question of meeting, how was it that you phrased it? How did you phrase the question? I just want to like make sure I'm using the same language.
Yeah, we said creating safety in the body.
Right, creating safety in the body. So the other, so what Christine is talking about, I think is like the primary, right? Like that's the essential thing. But a component of that is also, and I think it's important to remember this, that to create safety in our environments, in our relationships, and to know that when we enter into a creation process, because it is so vulnerable, because we have to have this descent into the mystery and into the unknown, we need to feel safe, which means that we have the right, we deserve, we ought to give ourselves a safe environment, and that we are the ones who are empowered to do that. We have to give ourselves that permission, which might sometimes mean saying no to people, places, and things that we otherwise might feel sort of socially obligated to, right? So I remember when I was pregnant, there's a tendency, and I think this is just a very natural tendency, that when other women see pregnant women, it pops traumas from their past birth, and you find that strangers come up to you in the grocery store and just start processing their difficult birth all over you and your baby. And so the pin was like, happy birth stories only. And it was like a bit of a joke, but it was also like I actually wore it. And part of it was to affirm to myself that I'm not here for your negativity and your fears and your unprocessed experiences. I get to create a web of loving support. That might also mean that, if there are certain people in your life that you need to kind of gatekeep around and have mitigate the contact so you can feel safe. And I've heard this, even in the creative process, right? Many artists, for example, will have a very clear agreement with themselves that when they sit down to write, that they get to do so unedited. There's no judgment, there's no stopping. They're just free writing, letting it come out. The spelling can be bad, the order can be bad, the ideas can be bad, but it has to start to come out in this safe space. And without feeling the safety that you are not going to judge yourself and, cut it all up instantly, that's the only space where our creativity can flourish. Otherwise, it's just going to clamp down and not come out. And so, whether it's an artistic creation or a business or anything else, I think it is important to remember that we need to create these kinds of that we have the right, at least if we need to create these physical environments. And sometimes that's boundaries with ourselves, reminding ourselves not to be so judgmental. And sometimes that might be, I don't know. I mean, I think even, in a practice of, playing music or writing or something like that, right? Having a sacred space, created a dedicated space, a dedicated time. Like that's an example of a place where we're creating like this beautiful environment in which we feel invited and welcome and safe to be able to allow that vulnerable creativity to flow. So yeah, I just think that's like it's sort of an extension of that inner um, safety cultivation, but it's an important component, I think.
Yeah, I love what you're both bringing in, and just it's making me think about this book I read called The Art of Gathering. I can't quite remember her name. I think it's Priya. And she talks about like when you are having a gathering, something you're creating, you choose like who you want to be there, right? You're setting up the boundaries for the vibe that you want to create. Like, what is this experience going to be like? And it just made me think about what you were mentioning, Rhiannon, like having those like borders and boundaries and discernment of like what and who is healthy for me, even if it is my own thoughts around myself. So it's like using your awareness to crowd out your judgment, or you're practicing your voice as like a woman to say no instead of always saying yes to take care of other people. It's like it feels like, I've witnessed it, like I said, from my sister as someone who hasn't birthed a child yet, but it's like having that deep like discernment of like, nope, like this isn't my time, my baby comes first, and that's important to me. So I feel like there's like this inner like goddess lion that's like evolving from the mother. And it feels really beautiful to witness it in both of you. So thank you for sharing your perspectives on that. And I feel, because we have about 7 minutes, I think it would be really wonderful to maybe, I know we have just one guest here, Paige, but Paige, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I'm wondering if you have any questions or insights or anything that you would like to add to the conversation before we have Christina and Rhiannon share their offerings. And if you're not able to be on camera, that's okay too.
And you could also type it in the chat too if you don't want to speak.
Okay. Yeah, maybe they're driving or at work or not able to access, and that's okay. So yeah, I would love for you both to share what's your offerings, what do you have coming up? What's something that you're personally birthing into the world that's out there and that's calling in people? I know Christina, I've worked directly with her through the Infinite Mother. So maybe we can start with Christina and then have Rhiannon share, and just whatever is coming up. What are you excited about? Even if you have nothing, like, I'm excited about this. I think that would be really wonderful to hear from both of you. So.
Wonderful. Thank you guys. I love this. I love talking with you both. So I have Infinite Mother, which is a 6-week online course with 1 day a week. We get together and we do a Q&A live, and it's called Infinite Mother, and it's basically a holistic birthing. We go really deep into postpartum and that little bit of that first year of mothering, but it's a lot about a little bit about what we talked about today, and really getting first-time moms or women who need support with an alternative way of thinking about birth, and also women who are who haven't conceived yet who are thinking about becoming mothers. It's a course that like comes straight from my heart, from my 28 years of mothering, almost 29 years of mothering, and all the insights and wisdom that I've learned, and really to help women get to that place where they feel their strength, they feel their balance, their core, and they can be strong in their in mothering, in birthing and mothering. And there's so many aspects to birth um, where we want to really really be present with the birth and have it be thought about, and also not only the mom and the birth, but think about the baby. Like my wish is for every single baby coming into this world from this moment on to be born into um, a place of beauty and light and safety and nourishment and cohesiveness, and birth without violence, birth with nourishment, birth with people who have thought about it, who have thought about all the little things that go along with it, because that's our first entry into this land from wherever we are, into this physical place, coming through that portal. And I just feel so passionate about wanting the moms and the babies to have like the most um yeah, the most beautiful entryway, no matter how it is, no matter how they end up coming through in the end. There's so much around that we can um give energy to. And yeah, so it's Infinite Mother. Webinar is coming up on the 17th, and the course starts on the 24th. So would love to have you join if you're in that realm. Or you can contact me if you're watching this and it's past that date. We can always do our own little private one-on-one conversation to see where you're at with the whole birth, holistic birth. And also I do beautiful cacao ceremonies, which I'm starting to do the first Sunday of the month online, and one-on-one coaching for women and birthing their babies, birthing their ideas, all of this kind of combined. So that's what I have to offer, and I guess we'll put all that information in the notes, so you can contact us. Thank you.
So sounds like an amazing course. I'm so excited it's out in the world. So yeah, so my primary offerings are really at this point around the rite of passages. I have a lot of backgrounds in, also like Christina, in the healing arts and energy medicine and ceremony, and I offer cacao ceremonies locally. I love doing them. But what I love to do is to create these very unique, personal, customized ceremonies to help us celebrate these transformational rites of passage. And so I especially specialize in weddings and then ceremonies for mother and baby. So sometimes these ceremonies are called a blessing way or mother honoring ceremony. And so that's a ceremony as we're preparing for birth, usually is held in the final trimester, as you're really starting to look at walking through that portal of birth and that rite of passage. And so, how do we spiritually prepare for that? And so, creating these ceremonies, we bring community together to support us, to be nourished, to be blessed, to deepen our connections with our spiritual allies. It's a place to be able to work through some of our fears and be met with that. And so in my process with that, it's not a template, right? So it's really a journey of deep inner self-reflection and contemplation where we engage in dialogue to discover, what are your powerful intentions? What is your vision for motherhood and for your birth? How is it that you're needing support now? all of these kinds of things we explore, and then we create a ceremony that embodies and expresses all of that and enacts, like allows us to bring forth this experience of all of the nourishment and support that is needed. And I understand that ceremony is really kind of a lost technology in our current culture, and it is a form of energy medicine. And so one of the amazing things that happens when you have I call this type of ceremony living ceremony, because it's alive, right? It's not pre-made and prepackaged. It is alive to your essence. And when we walk this ceremony, it it changes our energy, our energetic structures. Like we literally, because we clarify all of what is needed, and we and the vision of who we intend to be, and we bring in all of the supports to be able to access that, we activate that next level of ourselves. And it's so empowering, and really helps us to feel emotionally, mentally, spiritually more prepared for birth. And as a way of bringing community together, it's such a meaningful way to celebrate the sacredness of this incredible time in your life, and the beautiful new soul that you're welcoming into your family. So we do the blessing ways and also baby blessings as well. Sometimes people really want an opportunity to bring their community to receive blessings for the new baby. And sometimes, that's a naming ceremony. It can be lots of different things. Again, it's really meeting the needs of that family. It can be about visioning for who we want to be as a family moving forward. It's so powerful. And so that is what I love to bring to people, to deepen our experiences, and to of these rites of passages, and to cultivate a lot of those inner skills that we're talking about, and to have a tangible tool for accessing that. So plus it's just so much fun, and we just have a wonderful time. So one of my wishes, Christina, is that everybody walking through birth would be able to receive a ceremony like this, to be honored and celebrated and nourished as they prepare for birth.
So
Wow.
beautiful. I love it.
That's wonderful. I wanted to clarify too, for both of your offerings, are they only in person or are there virtual components? If you both want to kind of comment on that, because I think that's important since we're in the virtual sphere.
Yeah. Mine are both, actually. The one-on-one sessions can be on Zoom or here in Maine in my office. And then cacao, I have a full moon and a new moon in person. But I'm starting to offer it virtually. And then Infinite Mother, the 6-week course, is all on Zoom. Yeah. So it's accessible to everyone in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and mine is also both. All of the ceremony design process can be done over Zoom, because it's essentially like deep listening and deep conversation, and then communication between. And then for the ceremony itself, that can either be in person, so that would typically be local to me, although I have occasionally been flown out to, do a ceremony somewhere else. But even if I've worked with people who aren't nearby and aren't going to fly me out there, but I help them to design the ceremony and go through this powerful process, and then I work with the person who is going to facilitate the ceremony and help to sort of train them up a little bit, and get comfortable with understanding the ceremony we've created, and so that they can then conduct that there with their local community. So yeah, it's absolutely accessible online for people all over. So that's great. Works really well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, thank you both for sharing and for clarifying that. And thank you to all those who tuned in live, and all those who will tune in after the live recording. We'll be sure to have all the links for Rhiannon, for Christina, for myself, for any resources that we think are useful and valuable. We'll have email addresses and things that you can connect and contact each of us to stay connected, because these are important conversations to have, and just giving Deep gratitude and blessings to both Christina and Rhiannon for making space and time for this really important conversation and for sharing the capacity of their hearts and the wisdom of their wombs with us today. So thank you all so, so much. And yeah, looking forward to the next womb chat.
Thank
Thank
you.
you much.
Thank you. I'm like, should we?
I'm trying to turn off the recording.
Okay. There we go.
I think I'm going to just turn it off here.